If you're a Ghanaian, chances are there's something wrong with the way you think. Yeah. But what could that be? And how are you supposed to think? Well, if you've tuned in to this show from wherever you are in the world, then you've just given yourself the best chance of a mindset revolution, because the woman who wrote the book on the subject, literally, is our guest this morning, Akosua Bame. Thanks again for making the time to be with us.
Thank you, Kujo.
Okay, so now we've said the word several times. Mindset revolution. 2 words put together to represent a concept. What is that concept?
Okay, so I'll break it down. In terms of mindset, mindset is a framework through which we think. And that framework is really driven by our value system, our prejudices, our assumptions, our beliefs. So, and it's not necessarily operating at a conscious level. It's at a very subconscious and unconscious level. It's ingrained. That's why it's called mindset. And it's not about mind. You can change your mind anytime. But changing your mindset requires a deep assessment of your belief and value system. So that's how you think. It governs how you think, and then drives the decisions you make, which then leads to the actions you take, which produces the results you see. So that's mindset.
Right.
Now, revolution, I could have had evolution or revolution. What we need is a radical reset. What we need is transformational. And therefore, it has to be by revolution. It has to be that it catches fire and it almost takes hold. You know, if you have the analogy of a bushfire, we just light a spark and it literally takes control. That's what we need. So putting the 2 things together, mindset revolution, essentially is a concept about being able to radically change what drives our thinking, radically change our values, radically change our belief system, radically change the prejudices and assumptions that are driving the way we think as individuals and as a collective. And that's the concept of mindset revolution.
Would that involve radically changing our identity as well? Or do we already have an identity, we just need to start thinking like it?
I'm not sure we have an identity in Ghana. If I ask the average Ghanaian on the street, what does it mean to be Ghanaian? I'm not sure we could verbalize it at any level of coherence. At this point in time, what it really means to be Ghanaian is you really dwell within this geographical boundary that starts from A to Z, and the people within it are Ghanaians. If you took, for instance, America, they are constantly ingrained throughout their educational system with the American identity, that imperialist, superiorist attitude. I'm not saying it's necessarily the right identity. What I'm saying, though, is there's a concerted effort to ingrain and imbibe that into citizens. We've never really had the opportunity since independence to define the Ghanaian identity. And I think we suffer because of that, because there is a certain lack of loyalty, because we don't see ourselves as stakeholders in this nation.
Okay. And talking about the Ghanaian identity, I'm just curious, Akosua, what should be the Ghanaian identity?
Well, this is something that Akosua, cannot prescribe for the whole of Ghana.
For you,
Definitely
what should be
not.
the Ghanaian identity?
But there's a number of mindsets that I think, for Ghanaian identity, I would like us to be seen as moral, ethical, hardworking, and a place where hardworking is rewarded and recognized. Health conscious, you know, being careful about what we put in our bodies, prioritizing our own longevity. Those are the sorts of things that I would expect that our identity should project.
It's interesting that you'd have those things on your list, because there are some Ghanaians who will argue that that's who we are. I mean, are we not moral pontificators? Are we not hardworking? I mean, do you not see Ghanaians standing in the sun filling potholes? Are we not conscious of what we put in our bodies? Don't we buy all kinds of drugs in trotros? You would think that, I mean, you would not go far to find a Ghanaian who will claim that that's who we are.
Right. Moral pontification. That's an interesting one because, yes, for each of these things, you will find exceptions to the rule, but the general populace is not living to that identity. So I'll talk about the moral pontification. We have elevated being materially rich at whatever cost to a certain national level that I think we cannot, in that same breath, talk about morality. I mean, I have a very harrowing story that I would like to recall at this time. But about a couple of years ago, there's this gentleman, a young boy called Ishmael Mensah. I'm sure some people will remember the story. He was a 10-year-old boy who was lured by teenage boys and killed for money rituals. For me, that event was really a tipping point in the morality discussion in Ghana. What would drive teenage boys to think that they need wealth so desperately and so urgently and so quickly that they have to lure a young boy and kill him in order to make money? Now, if we have a society that, and people would like to say, oh, that's an isolated incident. I don't think so. What our youth are observing are us as grown-ups grasping and making wealth anyhow. When I was young growing up, I would hear my parents talk about so-and-so's filthy money. And that person was despised, sometimes even ostracized from certain company because it was perceived that they had not achieved their wealth in a legitimate way. Now, we have the reverse. Money, no matter how you made it, is celebrated. That in itself, to me, makes us lose the morality debate.
Now, having talked about the Ishmael Mensah story, I remember that one, that young boy who was murdered by the teenagers. So why do you think Ghana or Ghanaians need a mindset revolution?
Okay, so at an individual level, you have to evaluate yourself. You normally would check about the results in your life. You know, am I happy about my career? Am I happy in my marriage? Am I happy with my spiritual life? You look at the results. That's what determines whether you actually have the right mindset or not. If the results are what you're looking for, then yes, carry on doing what you've been doing. But as Albert Einstein said, it's a height of madness to continue doing the same thing and expect a different result. So if you don't like the results that you see around you, then you need to dig deep. What's making these results happen? And as I outlined earlier, your results are as a result of your actions. Your actions are as a result of your decisions. Your decisions are as a result of the way you think. And your thinking is driven by your mindset. So that's looking at the results around us. Do we think Ghana is thriving and is the nation that we all are proud of? Let's look at some of the results we have. We have open defecation at 20%. Now, when you quote the figure 20%, it sounds so abstract. 20% means 20 out of every 100 people in Ghana openly defecate.
It's about 6 million people.
Yes. Now, when you talk about open defecation at 20%, what is even more frightening for me is the normalization of urinating. We don't talk about that. But I'll just quickly, an aside, I saw a police officer. I was being driven along the Liberation Road down to Dankwa Circles. And I saw a police officer who had just finished urinating in the roadside gutter. And I turned to my sister and I'm like, the police officer is urinating in the roadside gutter. How is he going to enforce? And my sister started laughing at me and she was like, well, it seems like urination is normal. That was just one incident. The second incident was we were leaving home. I was just easily gone. Around the corner, I saw this gentleman, again, urinating into the gutter. Then maybe 20 yards away, there was another person. So I'm like, okay, so this is now an accepted behavior. It's not normal. It is not normal to decide to urinate wherever we go. It is not normal. And it is not normal for 20 out of every 100 Ghanaian people to openly defecate. In a country where I must add that our culture is such that if I gave you something with my left hand, the left is perceived to be used to clean myself after I've defecated, and therefore it's actually insulting. So that tells you that culturally and traditionally we were a hygienic people, So what's changed?
Interesting. We're talking to Akosua Bame. She wrote the book on Mindset Revolution, literally. The book is called Mindset Revolution, Master Your Thoughts and Master Your Life. And today we're trying to figure out how the Ghanaian is supposed to master his or her thoughts and master our lives. You said earlier that we have a slave mentality. That was when I wanted to know what's wrong with the way we think. So maybe we can delve into that. Let's talk about the Ghanaian mindset. What is the Ghanaian mindset?
A range of things, but I'll start off by talking about the fact that we have a slave mentality. And as I mentioned earlier, in a slave relationship, there is the master and there's the slave, because you can't have a slave without a master, and you can't have a master of no slaves. Now, each of those dimensions comes with a different mindset. The master dimension comes with an entitlement mindset, an exploitative mindset, and I would say that our leaders, and I'm not talking just political leaders, I'm talking about most people occupying positions of leadership within different spheres in Ghana, hold that master dimension mindset. They can't be exploitative. They feel entitled to the best. And then you have the slave mindset, which is not free to think, which has developed a learned helplessness, which is dependent. I don't see why people in a neighborhood that is basically teeming with rubbish cannot come together without government intervention to clean their environment. That, to me, is a learned helplessness. So we've got the slave and the master dimension. Now, on the international stage, our political leaders, and I will have to make a bash at them, then adopt a slave mentality when they are deferring to our former colonial masters. So they will go and negotiate all kinds of things that are actually to our detriment, because they are still operating from that slave dimension of the slavery mindset. So that's one thing. The other mindset that we have is an entitlement mindset, generally speaking. And that manifests itself in the way we approach work. If a white person established a factory and a Ghanaian established a factory, the work ethic of the same Ghanaian for those two different factories will be different. For the white person, they will turn up on time, do the maximum that they are supposed to do, work very hard. For the Ghanaian, they will start abusing that relationship. Oh, I've got a funeral. Oh, my baby is ill. Oh, my this. Oh, my that. That's an entitlement mindset that comes with, we are each of our brother's keeper. Because that same person, if you try to terminate their appointment, they'll go and find an uncle, a relative, somebody who will come and talk to you. Yeah, if a baby defecates on your thigh, you don't cut the thigh, you just, clean it up. You are your brother's keeper, you can't chew your own tongue, all kinds of proverbs, and then they will get the job again and still not change. How can that one person have those two dispositions? because they have an entitlement mindset. We have a "this is as good as it gets" mindset. You know, well, I mean, people will say in our local language, you know, and we have a resigned acceptance for that. And therefore, if you have a resigned acceptance, you have learned helplessness, you have an entitlement mindset, how are you going to progress? How are you going to look at things differently in order to even make a change in your own personal circumstances, let alone the entire nation? So that's where we are at the moment.
And you've talked about one thing. You've talked about our leaders, for instance. I'm interested in that, you know, because here our leaders have become the masters. But why do they move out and adopt a slave mentality too?
This is the dichotomy. You know, once in front of the former colonial masters or the West, because we've conferred a certain superiority on them, they then defer to their inferiority. It's that simple. Whatever comes from the West is perceived to be superior. We even demonstrate it in the way we treat people who are less fluent in English. You know, we dismiss people's input because they can't express themselves fluently in English. So yes, it's a dichotomy, but that's exactly the issue. The full slave mindset is in each and every one of us. Depending on where we find ourselves, the dimension manifests. So for me, for instance, maybe in my home, I may be adopting the master dimension of the slavery mindset. But if I'm sent abroad to go and do something elsewhere, I may end up actually adopting the slave dimension of that. The leaders we have, unfortunately, are demonstrating both to our detriment. By being the masters at home, they are exploitative. They feel entitled. Then they go to the national stage, the international stage, and they become subservient. So either way, the average Ghanaian is not winning.
You know, it's hard for me to determine from listening to you whether you think the mindset revolution is needed more amongst the people or the leaders.
Well, the leaders come from the people. So when I talk about the people, I'm talking about the leaders inclusive.
But the mindsets are different.
No, the mindsets are the same. They are being demonstrated differently. The mindset is a slavery mindset.
Right.
But the leaders have been given the opportunity to occupy positions of leadership, and therefore they demonstrate the master dimension of the slavery mindset. But the leaders are equally feeling entitled in the same way as the average citizen feels entitled. So I believe if we have a revolution or revolutionize the mindset of citizens, by default, we produce the kind of leadership that citizens require.
So what kind of mindset then do we need?
Okay, so and I want to draw a line, well, I'll draw attention to the fact that mindset cannot be defined in dichotomy. So, I mean, Carol Dweck, that's one of the breaking papers on mindset, talks about the fixed and the growth mindset. But in my book, Mindset Revolution 3, to build the Africa we want, it's our move. In that book, I discuss 7 mindset states that we need, both in Ghana and across Africa. And this includes a visionary mindset, a legacy mindset, an evolutionary mindset, a wealth creation mindset, a knowledge-seeking mindset, a health-conscious mindset. Have I counted? How many have I counted so
We've
far?
got 6 now.
Which is the last one then?
I've read it, so I know it's the entrepreneurial mindset.
The entrepreneurial mindset. That's the one. Exactly.
Good students.
Well done. You know, and we need all of those. But for me, the starting point, to be honest with you, I would start with the health conscious mindset. And you made the point that and health actually matters to nation building in unimaginable ways. And health actually helps even in revolutionizing your mindset. If you start prioritizing your health in the way you ought to, I was very intrigued when you say, yes, we buy medication, etc. For me, that's after the fact. What are we doing to prevent those diseases in the first place? We don't seem to have that health conscious mindset that helps us to imbibe certain lifestyles to prevent getting disease. We almost assume, oh, once you're 50 plus, pressure, you will get high blood pressure, diabetes may set in. We almost assume, and it doesn't have to be so. You know, we eat the food that we eat. Do we eat for health, or do we eat just because? You know, I mean, I know scenarios where we go and buy food and we ask the lady, please add a little bit more oil. Come on. So we need, and the reason why I would prioritize health is a healthy nation is a productive nation. I'm sure if somebody did studies, we would be able to find how much we lose in terms of productivity due to health issues. So that's where I'd come from.
Yeah, well, listen, if you just joined us, Akosua Bame is walking us through the mindset revolution, helping us understand in a very relatable way what is wrong with the way we think and what we need to change about it. Akosua Bame is our guest. She's been talking to us all morning about mindset revolution. And we're all starting, from your messages at least, I can see that we're all starting to see ourselves in this, you know, identifying some of our behaviors and thinking that that feature in the mindset that needs to be changed. All right, so let's start practicalizing it. Let's start figuring out how we're supposed to go about this mindset revolution as a nature. And Akosua, I guess my question is this: whose job is it to get us started? Where do we begin? What is step one?
Okay, I'm not sure I can say step one, step two, step three. Whose job is it? It's all of us. Mindset is everybody's business. Mindset revolution is everybody's business. But there are some practical channels. So to shift our value system, it means we need to replace our value system. That will come through education, both formal and informal. So within our formal educational system, it's about time we revamped our curricula. We need to know our real history, not just the history that says that we were colonized or we were enslaved, etc., the slave trade, etc., but our history before. You know, way back, 8,000 years of Kemet history. Why? Because through history, you gain an insight into where we were before. Why have we come to this point of learned helplessness? How did we contribute to the civilization of today? And why can we not continue to contribute? Those sorts of things. So history, definitely we need to. And history properly taught gives us lessons learned that we can carry on. Entrepreneurship needs to be embedded within our educational curricula. So that when I'm leaving, even if I take a professional course like medical school, etc., I leave with a view of setting up my practice, not with a view of going to get a job. Whether we like it or not, entrepreneurship is the lifeblood of our economy. And therefore, in every sphere of life, not just buying and selling, in every sphere of life, we need to inculcate an entrepreneurial mindset. So from the formal educational perspective, we just need to revamp our curricula from the primary all the way to tertiary institutions. Informal education, I think, is even more important. And here the media, you guys play a huge, huge role. I mean, Malcolm X said that the media is so powerful, it can make an innocent man look guilty and a guilty man look innocent. And that's how much power you wield. So through entertainment, through formal sessions, through some of these conversations we're having, that is going to start changing people's perspective. If we do it often enough, not a flash in the pan. You know, we need to use change agents. And by this, I mean people that have influence of significant parts of our nation. So religious leaders, they are hugely key. Because unfortunately, and I'm not being unnecessarily critical, but unfortunately, they have also been key in perpetuating this dependency mindset that we have. because we are just dependent on an external God that is coming to come down and solve all our problems. Those same religious leaders can be a catalyst for changing the mindset, because they have been a catalyst in the current mindset state. Our traditional rulers, our chiefs, they again have a key role to play in this. Then obviously our teachers and other people in different spheres of life. So that's why I said mindset revolution is everybody's business. We need to identify these routes to informing people, because it's through information and then lived experience that's when you start changing your mindset. I can give you all the information you like, but until your lived experience change, so I'm going to treat that as well, you may not actually change your mindset, because lived experience makes it real to you. It's no more theory. So coming to that, law and order. We must enforce our law. We have the laws, we don't enforce them. The police officer is urinating by the roadside. Is he going to stop somebody else from doing that? That's just a basic example, but that's the reality of what we are doing. And in this instant, I will talk about rewards and sanctions being used to reinforce the behaviors that we want. So I'll give you an example that I'm so excited about, and I do hope I get the opportunity to meet this chief. But there's this town, Sinkushia.
Yeah.
And the chief is Nana Prajinsem there. You see, the sixth, I hope I'm quoting him correctly. But it's known as the cleanest town in Ghana. And what he has done there is not just put bins around. You know, sometimes when you talk about open defecation, you say, oh, we've opened so many public toilet systems. Just because you put the public toilet system, that doesn't mean people will change their behavior. But what he has done is actually what I would like to see more of. Citizens policing each other. He's empowered even young children in that town to be able to tell you, Kojo, we don't drop litter here. So if you drop your litter, they'll pick it and give it to you. And well, you will go through the process of feeling ashamed. You will not dare drop litter there. You know, and what disappoints me though is I don't see this being emulated. You know, I would have expected that his success story should really ignite a rollout plan. All other chiefs would want to be part of this story, but I'm not getting that sense. So yes, if he can do it within one town, all the chiefs should be able to emulate that and do it within in their towns. And if they did it, immediately our sanitation issues would actually go down.
Yeah. I think Kushia is an interesting example. I mean, I have family living there. My father's older brother lived there for many years. His children and grandchildren are there. And when cousins meet, you can tell, you know, from their behavior, even the youngest ones, you know, exactly what you said. They won't. If you drop something, you pick it up, put it back. If you play with a toy, you pick it up, you put it back. These things have become ingrained in them because they weren't given an alternative. They weren't told that it's okay to do it another way, you know. So very interesting case study there. Now, maybe we should expand a bit more on this, you know, this thing about where to begin or who to, because I've noticed roles for everyone in what you've described. So enforcement is a leadership role. But changing your lived experience, maybe that's something that we all, you know, chip in on. I'm interested in what should come first. You know, you talked about how the health-seeking mindset is the one that we should prioritize.
Yes.
Okay, because then it has a positive effect on all the other mindsets. So how about this process, these channels of mindset revolution? Where does the channel start?
Well, I mean, in terms of the health conscious mindset that we're talking about, it's all about information. It's all about people getting knowledge. It's all about, but the key thing is, let's try and understand health differently. I believe that here in Ghana and in other parts of the world, but I'm speaking specifically about my beloved country, we seem to think taking medication and seeking solution to our health issues is the way to go. We need a shift to actually prioritize prevention of disease in the first place. There's no law that says that, there's nothing that says that as I'm getting older, I should develop certain diseases, as I said, hypertension, diabetes, etc. That is an expectation we have set ourselves wrongly. Why do we eat? Really, food is supposed to be for health reasons, to maintain a healthy system. When I was in Achimota school, we had food and nutrition class. And I must admit, I didn't pay that much attention to it, I wasn't a good cook then. I am a great cook now, but I wasn't a good cook then. And I just found the whole thing quite traumatizing, boring, you're trying to learn how to make the okra, etc. But I think that actually that subject and those subjects, nutrition, need to be elevated in the national agenda. Why? The benefits of developing a health conscious mindset is this. Human beings are inherently selfish, whether we like it or not. Once I'm able to prioritize my health and start investing in prevention, I become more conscious about my environment. I will not be pleased to see people openly defecate. It has hazardous consequences on my health. I wouldn't want to see people urinating. It has consequences for me. Mosquitoes breed in the gutters and I end up actually getting malaria, etc. It has benefits in that respect. But also at a national level, it actually enhances productivity. How much productivity is lost through people being sick? So
just taking the health, seeking mindset, in isolation. Already, I'm starting to wonder whether we should not be focusing more on getting leadership to lead in the mindset revolution. Because I'll give you an example. In the UK, almost 20 years ago, 2004, they started this 1 of your 5 a day campaign.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes. So it became a national message that you see on your TV, you hear on your radio every single day, every hour, that you should be eating 5 portions of fruit and vegetables a day.
Absolutely.
It almost became a law that you are breaking if you don't make up the 5 portions every day. It was a message. It came from leadership, and then people took it up, and it became a lifestyle. They changed their lived experience.
Yes.
Akosua, you made the point that, look, we all need a mindset revolution. It's not just a matter of changing the mindsets of leaders. But I still want to make an argument for that. Because, look, even the things you've shared, the need for a message, because Ghanaians like to absorb, they like to copy. So there must be something for them to absorb and copy. There must be an example for them to follow. We've already agreed that at least political leadership or governance leadership need to be in charge of the reward and punishment.
Yes,
right? That has to come from them. But what about everything else? The messaging, the examples, the sacrifice. To demonstrate that it is possible, to be a leader and also be a servant. All these things that we need to see in order to know it's possible, and then we can all start following. Are these not all things that must start from leaders?
Ideally, and I would not argue against that. People are seeking to be led, and a leader that does the right thing, like the leader, the Nanapra, who has done the right thing with Asin Kushia. That's leadership, exemplary. So, but I think what I don't want is for us to delay or defer waiting for a radical shift in the mindset of our political leaders before our nation can be led, it can evolve. Because it may not come as quickly as we want. I've described the master dimension of the slave mindset that they hold. And intrinsic in that is a self-centeredness and a selfishness, and an interest in maintaining the status quo.
Right.
So shifting that mindset is not going to be easy. But actually, we can shift the mindset from the grassroots up, and that could force a shift in the leadership mindset, because you are either going to be the leader that the citizens whose minds have been revolutionized want, or you're going to be out. I know that when you extend it and say, oh, let's start from the grassroots, it looks like the elephant is too huge to eat. But in actual fact, even at the grassroots, leadership must lead. So if you take our Makola Women's Association, we take our Susu groups, we take obviously our chiefs, you take maybe your district councils, whatever, those people in leadership positions, absolutely, we need to tackle their mindsets so that they lead by example.
Right.
So I totally agree with you in that respect. But what I would hate to see is us waiting whilst this machinery of a political whatever, we're waiting for them to change their mindset before we can, as a nation, follow. I think that's not going to happen rapidly.
Okay, so let's talk about our governance system, because one of the things you talked about, and I remember, watching that program where you're like, how about trying something new? Must we always be stuck to what we have and say that is the best? I am curious. I am interested. I mean, we have a democracy. We've said we want civilian rule. We don't want a military rule. We want democracy. Beyond these, what options are available to us?
This is the interesting thing, but I would take a step back. What is governance all about? Why do we need governance? We need legislature, we need the judiciary, we need the executive, but why do we need that? What problems are we trying to solve by having a governance system? So I think we are so constrained with the either or models. Well, it's either it's a democratic rule or it's a coup d'etat, it's a democratic rule, military rule. Those are what we have practiced. But those have not necessarily solved our problems. What do we want? We need governance to help us in our nation building and maintenance. That's what we need. So what are the optional solutions out there? And I'm not going to advocate picking up, because what we've done is we pick the Western ideology of democracy, and we've superimposed it in our context. But we have a chieftaincy system as well. So we have a very strange hybrid, conflated, confused model. That's not working. At this point in time, we have NPP, NDC, the main parties, and other parties as well. I would say that maybe on paper they have ideological differences. But for the average man on the street, they don't have ideological differences. They're just voting along tribal divide. So at any point in time, with any one party in power, they are serving only as much as half the interest of the population. That's what the perception is anyway. Even if they are serving the national agenda, the perception is it's my party in power and therefore it's serving me. So it's not working. And I can assure you, I'm not a soothsayer, and I don't have any prophetic whatever. But if we're going to carry on down this pathway, 30 years down, if God helps us and we're still alive, you and I will be having this very same conversation. It's time to go back to the drawing board. It's time to learn from other civilizations. Even in the West, they tailor it. Yeah. The German system is very different from the British system. Even though they preach this one-size-fits-all democracy that Africa needs to roll out, they have nuanced models to suit their environment. Because in the British system, we have a monarchy, and the monarchy is a superficial head of the law, etc. Laws are passed under the name of the monarchy, etc. So that system is quite different from the German system. It's different from the American system. So why do we feel that in Africa, in Ghana, we have to adopt this one-size-fits-all party political system of democracy that is not working? We've got people like Lee Kuan Yew who built the nation. Let's learn from them. We've got models out there that we can pick and choose, and take our context into our account. I would love to see a representation of all tribes in a what, maybe a commercial model of some sort, you know, a board of chairman of a board of directors of Ghana, the nation called Ghana, whatever. Let's be a bit more creative. Go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, what do we need from governance? What context do we have? We have land issues. We have not resolved that. We have chieftaincies. What are their roles, or what role will they play within this governance model? But we can't just continue blindly implementing this so-called democratic party political system that is not serving us build the nation. So now we're talking about breaking the 8, but every 8 years or whatever, we have this different governments coming in, and everyone comes in with a different agenda. Someone will build hospitals, another won't commission it. This cannot go on. If we keep doing this, we will keep getting the same results. Go back to the drawing table.
And in going back to the drawing board, one of the things we must consider is you know, this whole fascination about elections, and thinking that's the way to go. That's what you're suggesting.
Absolutely. We need to go. Let's pretend, okay, how long have we had this system in place for anyway? This republic system. Before colonization, did we not have a system of governance?
We did.
Let's go and learn lessons from those systems. I'm not saying those were the best systems. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying they may have been tailored more appropriately to our context. Let's not forget the agenda behind all of this so-called democracy that we are advently practicing, you know, going for it. We've been left with something. We don't have to stay with it.
Wow. Yeah, that's in fact, those are the words with which we should wrap this conversation. We've all been left with something. Are we going to stay with it? Okay, this is a conversation that is at its beginning, not at its end. We ought to have more of such, and so we really, really, truly appreciate, your time with us this morning, Akosua Bame, and thank you for sowing the seed of mindset revolution.
But the next event is on the 18th of September.
Oh, fantastic! The next dialogue.
Dialogue, yes.
Brilliant.
It's on the 18th of September. You know, the first was about whether the Fourth Republic has delivered. I like that presentation by Yansako. I like his letter to Akufo-Addo.
Yes, I did actually enjoy that open letter.
I liked that one. I liked that open letter to Akufo-Addo.
Well, the next one promises to be just as engaging, if not more. So you better not miss it. If you missed the first one, please don't miss the second one. Great speakers.
Can I just quickly say something about the next one? The next one is actually about health.
Oh, so there we go.
The next one is about health. So I think we should really make an effort to go and listen, to understand. I think the theme is about whether the health system has delivered dividend to the Ghanaian. I'm sure the answer will probably be a resounding no. But at least let's go and explore the dialogue. As you say, it's on the 18th of September. It's a British Council. And the person speaking is a friend of mine, Kwame Sapon-Esidu.
Kwame.
Yes.
Yeah, so
he's a friend of ours.
He's a friend of ours. Okay. Yes, please, let's all go, and I'm looking forward to it. I won't be in the country, but I will join from remote.
Absolutely, we all look forward to that. That's the next big thing. Let's join together for that one. Akosua Bame, you go with all our gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right.